The Bear Essentials podcast gives older bears a place to gather for real talk regarding topics and issues that they can relate to. Here at The Bear Essentials, we aren't just having conversations. We are looking to provide actionable intelligence through real-life experience and expertise of our guests. Our mission is to build a strong community that elevates and motivates people to go beyond their limiting beliefs by helping them realize that getting older is not an excuse to hibernate on their goals, but a reason to work harder.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Charles Wallace. Today's guest is a private chef who works with some very high-profile clientele. Looking forward to bringing you this interview. So without further ado, let's jump into my interview with Chef James Yates. But first, a word from our sponsor. Wolfinger Consulting, experts who have achieved real results for their clients, including complying efficiently and successfully with overwhelming discovery orders, passing difficult third-party security audits, and deploying bleeding-edge technology platforms to control and preserve corporate information. Let them show you what Wolfinger Consulting can do for you. Be sure to check out their webpage at wolfingerforensics.com. Hi, James. How you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
No, you're welcome. It's great to meet you finally.
Yeah, I've been interacting with you somewhat up there on LinkedIn, and seeing what you do, it's had me really interested, and I couldn't wait to have you on, so I really appreciate it. For my audience, would you mind giving a bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm originally a chef. I trained as a chef. I've done the whole Michelin star thing for years and years, and then trained in nutrition and kind of went into the private sector. I look after professional athletes. I've worked with some of the world's best footballers, NBA, NFL. I've been around. And today I still continue to do that. And every day is a learning curve. I meet new clients all the time. And I'm looking to move to the States within the next few months and look to open up a new network of people over there. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, from watching what you're doing up on social media, I can see that you have a really large people like what you're doing, so that's always good. So
it seems to be good. Yeah, it seems to be working.
Yeah, it does. It definitely seems to be working, and I'm really excited and happy for you. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
James, would you mind going back? Can we go back a little bit, though?
Of course, yeah, let's do it.
I'll be quite frank. You're the first chef I've had on the show, so cool. I was curious about that. What is it something you always wanted to do? How'd you get into this?
Yeah, so it's always kind of been something that I've wanted to do. I don't know where it come from. My mum was a chef. She used to cook, so I think maybe that's kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. I remember leaving school and I remember I wanted to be a chef. So I literally went straight into like a hotel environment. I started like way at the bottom and kind of just like worked my way up. It was a really hard place. It was quite a shock to the system because like chefing is really hardcore, but you don't realize how much it is until you kind of get thrown into that environment at like 16, 17 years old. And kind of just worked my way up. I worked my way up. I worked in like Michelin star restaurants, done all the whole fine dining thing for years and years. Kind of got a little bit bored of it. I kind of worked as far as I could go in there, and I always was into my gym, my nutrition. So I thought I would kind of carry on working, do like nutrition side of things, do a few courses, get a diploma behind me, and kind of go into that side of stuff. I was really intrigued with food and how it works and how it kind of relates to our performance and how it works in the gym, our day-to-day kind of life cycles. So kind of dived into that world, took a job with Team GB cycling. I was their chef for a long time and kind of just went from there. And then it kind of opened the doors up to, football clubs and private chefing in some of the, world's best footballers' houses, which was like a big shock for me, and being one-on-one with them. And yeah, it's kind of just gone from there. So it's been a really exciting road. It's been a hard road. But yeah, here we are. We're still strong and still moving forward.
All right, so I'm going to, and this might be Captain Obvious me, but I've been known to ask the questions that people go, of course, why'd you ask that? But I'm going to ask it. When you say Michelin style, I'm not going to lie, James, when I hear Michelin, I think of tires. What is Michelin style?
So Michelin star level is there's a lot of restaurants in the world which have really high standards and superb chefs, and they win Michelin stars. It's kind of the biggest accolade to win as a chef. Gordon Ramsay has loads of restaurants with Michelin stars. It's a really big thing. Not so much now, but it was, 10 to 20 years ago. And even now, there's a lot of restaurants that are aiming for that. It's kind of this huge accolade. If you're a chef and you can get a Michelin star, it's like a huge thing. Yeah, so that's kind of where it is at the moment.
Gotcha. So, a couple things you touched on there I want to get into, because I don't think people realize it. You mentioned about it's hard work to be a chef.
It's rough.
And I actually noticed the other day, great segue. I noticed the other day you had a post about you had worked out, and you had mentioned working like a 16, 18-hour day. And I literally saw somebody comment on that and said, why? So like what can you kind of get into, like how difficult is it and what it involves? Yeah,
so a lot of chefs work long hours. It's kind of like the name of the game, really. It's very normal for a chef to work 14 to 16, sometimes even 18 hours a day, at a high level restaurant, or even as a private chef. I know some private chefs that, wake up at 6 a.m, they go and do the shopping, they do breakfast, they do lunch, they do evening food, and, they're not leaving till 1 o'clock in the morning and they're back at 6 again. It's kind of like a normal thing in the kind of restaurant industry. But, it's getting a lot of awareness now, and it is something that's slowly changing. There are chefs that work in 4 days weeks and taking 3 days off, so it's good to see a bit of light shining on that. But yeah, it's tough grind, and we're still trying to keep ourselves active, still trying to keep ourselves healthy. So when I finish a long day, I know that I have to go to the gym. So if I don't go to the gym, my next day after is going to be, I want to be struggling. Mental health is going to be all over the place, not thinking straight. So yeah, it's a tough world for chefs, and even for private chefs. People think, it's a glamorous job. It's fantastic. What we do, it is fantastic. And we work with some great people. But on the other side of things, we have families, we have, personal goals, and we want to go to the gym. We want to look after ourselves. So trying to balance that is a fine line.
So James, I would think that kind of helps. So, because from at least the bit of connection I've had with you on social media, I mean, it seems like your health and your fitness are important. How does that translate and carry over into your actual job and what you do for your clients?
Yeah, I think it does. A lot of it is research. I've probably tried every diet in the world, from Atkins to carnivore diets, literally everything, just trying to see what works out and what works best. I don't believe there's a diet for everybody that works the same. Everyone is, we're all human beings, and some things work for some people and some things don't. It's just totally across the board. So yeah, I just kind of tie in with my clients. If I'm unhealthy and I don't look great, and I'm not working out, it's not something that I can pass on to my clients, and can't give them information and be like, well, this guy looks like he's a right mess. He's white, he's pale, he's got sweat all over him, he's in my kitchen. So yeah, I just try to keep myself in shape. I try pass that on to my clients that I work with, and it's quite nice because I work with some amazing clients, and they are literally superstar gods in the health world, and I kind of get a little bit of that from them. So yeah, it kind of works both ways. If I'm feeding them amazing food, they can say what they do, training regimes, and try this and try that. So yeah, it's really interesting.
So James, have you ever had any difficult situations where you have a client that you're not there just to help cook for them? You're basically there to try to fuel them and keep them healthy.
Of course,
have you ever had that balance where you're kind of having to push back at them a little bit to say, hey, hold on a second, I can't go there. I need to keep you a little bit on the straight line.
Yeah. I'll probably say 90% of athletes, always need, a little bit of, I've gone to people's houses, top stars, and I've opened their fridge, and, there's Red Bulls in there. There's old Chinese from 2 nights ago. A lot of athletes are just normal people. They've got a fantastic skill. They've been thrown into this industry. They've been in training camps from the age of, 10 years old. They've never learned any other skills of how to cook, how to look after themselves. They just literally rely on skill. So that's where someone like me comes in. I can teach them about nutrition. we can work on plans that are going to get them more healthier, going to squeeze out that little bit more, 2% in their game to help them. And yeah, it does. The nutrition side is a huge side to these athletes, and fueling them is like a critical role. And it's nice to see them take stuff on board and change their lifestyles and how they eat. It's literally a huge part of the job.
And James, have you noticed, and this is kind of more selfishly for myself. I mean, I've noticed now that I've gotten older, I'm in my 50s now. So I've noticed how my relationship with food isn't just different. I notice how food seems to react different with me. Do you find that a bit of a balancing act when you work with clients? Does their age kind of play into it and how you have to treat them?
Yeah, it does. I think age, I'm 39 now, and I've noticed that I can't do as many things as I used to do. And I do see that, as years go on, you think in your brain, you think you can do something, but then realistically you can't. But yeah, food plays an important factor, every day as we kind of grow older. I think there's more, like body starts to ache, your energy levels drop, testosterone drops, hormones start to fly all over the place. So I think keeping a balanced diet will really help as we move forward. My main goal is to be healthy as I can and just roll into that grave. That is the key of life, try to go as far as we can. And I think within the next, 15 to 20 years, I think we're kind of exploring nutrition a lot better now. We will find what our ideal diet is. I think there's a lot more research going into stuff now. And at the moment, it feels like a navigation stage where we're finding different supplements, different regimes, what food works, different diets. So it's going to be an exciting track to see, within the next 10 to 15 years of where we will be with, diets, nutrition and food. But yeah, it does, as you said, as you do get older, I think you really have to start taking a little bit more care and choosing the right foods, eating organic, try to eat as much raw food as you can, fresh fish, and try to keep away from all the processed food because inflammation plays a huge part as we do get older as well. So if you can keep the inflammation at bay, I think it's a win-win.
Great segue. I wanted to ask you this, and I thought about this last week when I spoke to you, and I knew you were here in the States.
Yeah.
I hear a lot about this, and I'm curious from a chef's perspective what you see when you mention processed foods. I know ever since I've been on my kind of journey and getting healthy, when I look now at some of the ingredients in some of the boxes of food that is available here in the States, do you see a difference between countries as far as some of the ingredients allowed in food across different countries?
100%. I've been in LA in the Calabasas area for the last month, and the produce over there to the produce in Florida to the produce in the UK, it's so different. It's literally like miles apart. Like in Los Angeles, there's so many organic stores that I noticed they really care about what they're putting inside themselves. It's very hard to try to find a lot of processed food. Yeah, there is takeaways, there is other stores that sell processed food, but there's great fish over there. The meat is all grass fed. It's kind of promoted a lot better. You have Bristol Farm Foods, you have Erewhon, Trader Joe's has a fantastic organic section as well, where in the UK we probably have one store in Manchester that sells organic food. If you go to certain places in the States, it's everywhere. And I just feel like in the UK, a lot of food, is promoted, like Uber Eats, Deliveroo. It's so easy to, pick up a phone and order a takeaway. And that's where we're going wrong. We never had that 20 to 30 years ago, not even maybe 10 years ago. And it's so convenient now to pick up a ready meal or phone up an Uber Eats and just get that delivered rather than, sourcing some good food and making a meal at home. And that's where I think we're going wrong as a society. We're eating food like foods instead of eating fresh. So, yeah, I could go on all day about this, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting, your answer, because I live in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Have you ever been East Coast United States?
I've been to the New York place. I've been to the New York side and stuff. I've done Florida and stuff like that, but I've never been up that way. Never.
Yeah. It's interesting because what you just described in Manchester is
Yeah.
it's what I experience here in Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, and I've been out to California a few times for work,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. I actually, when I came home from California, I said to my family, I said, the difference in food, especially like the seafood and things like that, it was night and
It's
day.
unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about with our society, and I think obviously we're more of that instant gratification society. So as a chef, someone who promotes health, what
Yeah.
are some tips you might give people? Because James, obviously people hire you because probably number one, they want your expertise. You're a
Of course.
way better cook than they are.
I
But
hope so.
what about the time? Like, I know for me, that was always my biggest excuse. It was like, I have this job from this hour to this hour. How do you kind of talk people through that on ways to maybe like balance it? They're being more healthy, but being conscious of their time. And it's not as easy for them to want to pick up the phone and order out.
Of course. Yeah. I think with the busy lifestyles that everybody leads these days, everybody's working hard. It's harder to make a good wage. And when you do make a good wage, you have to commit, all of your time to that job or that role. So the best way, to kind of add a little bit of health is, I would say, buy a fresh juicer. That is one of the big yeses. You can get so many nutrients. You can add so much greens and fruit and veg to your life. Find a good little organic store, pick up a load of veg, and you can just juice the night before. Just say you get them from work, make some loads of juices up, leave them in your fridge, and it's just a good way to start your morning. Even stuff like overnight oats, you can buy some overnight oats, buy some raw oats, add some almond milk in, some honey, some nuts, leave that in the fridge overnight. It's an easy breakfast straight away, and that will set you up for a few hours. And another thing is, maybe if you do get a day off, maybe, make some meals up. If you make something fresh, it's going to last for 3 days in your fridge. Maybe a little bit of food prep, but I think the main thing is the juicing. If you can get a juicer and get some really good raw organic ingredients, juice fresh, that will just set you up every single day. You're getting a good amount of veg, you're getting some good fruits in, all your micronutrients as well, your vitamins, and it just will set you up.
Yeah, and James, it's really interesting you say that because so my wife and I have both been on this journey, and over the last 2 to 3 years, she's lost more weight than I. She's lost over 100 pounds at this point.
Wow.
And I'm,
Brilliant.
At 100. So, and we've kept it off, but it's been being diligent to, I think a lot of people always thought it was all about the workout, but we found out real quick it was always about the food,
100%.
And now it's kind of that different. And, I will say this, we are fortunate. We have a couple of supermarkets that have really good organic aisles.
Yeah.
And James, it's so funny. You mentioned organic so many times. And I'll tell you, when I was at my worst, organic to me was like, oh my God, why would people want to have organic food? Right. It was like, and then I think back now and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't want really just food. I wanted all my chemicals mixed with my food. So, great advice. I'm noticing a little bit, besides being a chef, and I don't know if it's your intent, but I really am noticing you are becoming a bit of you're an influencer and an example on social media. Was that intentional, or did it just start to happen?
It never was. I've always put some videos on of food that I'm cooking and what I like to do. And it kind of just blew up a little bit on LinkedIn. I think people just enjoyed the whole health side of things. I think I can relate to a lot of people because on LinkedIn, it is busy professionals. And, 90% of people who follow me, I think they can relate to, trying to find a healthy lifestyle, trying to find a way to incorporate some good foods into their diet. I would say 99% of us have some kind of illness or chronic illness or some kind of ache on our body. So if I can help, a few people out or a few hundred people out, then it's definitely a win-win for me. So yeah, I've never gone out there to, show myself off or try to give people health advice. It's kind of just come naturally. And literally my DMs every day on LinkedIn is just like helping people out. What can I do for this? What can I do for that? So no, it's just nice to give back a little bit. I'm a private chef. I work with athletes. I know normal people like us, would probably never have a private chef. So it's nice to kind of give people a bit of professional advice and the stuff that I've been doing to help other people out. Even if it's, a little conversation and people are like, oh my God, I've had this knee injury for a year now. I've kind of done what you said to do and it's totally gone. I've been juicing every day. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. So no, it's just nice to give back. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, well, I noticed it. I did. I really did. And you're doing a fantastic job up there. So the whole working with athletes,
Yeah.
I gotta ask, have you ever been to that point where maybe you've been a little bit starstruck, almost like to the point where you forgot what you're doing?
There was one footballer who is like probably, obviously I can't say names because I sign NDAs and stuff like that. And he's the biggest footballer ever in the world. And he was coming over one of my clients' houses for lunch. And obviously he just walked in. I was like, oh my God, I just can't believe it's him. And he come over, had a good chat. He said, like, I see what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And, I love your food. What do you think? We had a great conversation. But apart from that, it was just him really that I kind of was like, wow, it's just a bit unreal. But I've worked with some like amazing athletes. And it's just nice because they're just normal people. That's how we relate so well. And, we have great conversations. It's mostly about nutrition and stuff like that. But yeah, there's just one guy who was a little bit starstruck. That's it.
Yeah, I think I have a couple names in my head. I won't actually I won't say them as we're recording, but
of course.
Well, that's really cool to hear. And James, now looking kind of at what you've done, all the people you've helped, what you've created, do you ever kind of like almost like pinch yourself like, damn, I can't believe I'm at this point?
I'd say it's been a hard, long road. I've took some, jobs which hardly paid anything whilst I had a family, and I've sacrificed a lot to be here. So I think hard work pays off. I've made a lot of sacrifices. I've kind of took roles to kind of lead up to this point, but I would say I'm probably even 50% in. There's still a lot of stuff that I want to do, more that I want to achieve. I'm halfway through building Project Performance, which is a website that ties all of this in together with athletes, normal people. It's going to have ways that you can hire your own private chefs, nutrition-based, and get some advice for free. There's going to be menus and plans. So yeah, that's something that I want to achieve, kind of to bring this all together. And obviously I'm hitting the States within the next few months as well. So yeah, I've got a long way to go still. Another good 20 years, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I know you mentioned your website to me.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to that because I mean now, my wife and I were always looking for that. That seems to be the big question in our house all the time is like, what do we do tonight for dinner? Right? It's always
it's the question. Even I do it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing tonight? Because it's a balancing act, right? And it's still difficult because I'll tell you, I don't know about over in Manchester, but in Philadelphia, if you pick up the phone, I kid you not, James, within a 3-block radius, I got 5 pizza shops where I can get pizza, cheese, you can get it all. And that doesn't include Uber Eats, So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Have you ever been approached or any thoughts about a book, a recipe book, anything like that?
Yeah, I've had quite a few people ask me about writing a book. I've kind of been putting a lot of my recipes down. I've been creating something for the last 3 years. I'll probably do it like once a week. I sit down for an hour and just throw a few recipes that I've been working with, a few of my ideas. I personally feel at the moment I'm not ready to release anything. I could release a book, but I just feel like it's not 100% at the moment. There's a lot more that I want to give to a book. So maybe the next couple of years we can start looking at. But I've had opportunities to, I've had a couple of people saying, let's do this, let's do that. But I personally feel at the moment I'm not ready to lay everything on the table. But I will do. So when it is kind of out, I know that I've gave it 100%, and the advice and the nutrition side of things will be 100% key to helping people. So I just want to make sure that's right on my behalf.
You know, I wanted to say this to you face to face. Well, as close to face to face as we can be here. But James, you really come across as a really authentic individual, and that's I think what
Appreciate
really drew me into you. I like there's no pretense about you, and I do. It feels like you are genuinely what you're doing. Obviously, it's great for you, but you're really, really helping people. I have two more questions I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you.
of course.
Um,
Fire away.
was there any point during all this, as you mentioned the hard
Yeah.
work and just a little bit about some of the things you had to do? Was there any point where you considered maybe like I'm not going to make it, or I might need to throw in the towel?
Uh, yeah, I would say with the private industry, it's really difficult. It's a hard nut to crack. And a lot of the chefs that I speak to, there's like, how did you get into the private industry? I've worked in a restaurant for 20 years. Like, what's the best way? And there is a lot of agencies out there that have, the private jobs, and it's very hard for a chef. So you need experience to work in a private household. And when I was kind of looking into the private industry and how am I going to get in, it's really hard. It took a few years. I think, you know what, it's probably not worth me even approaching this road. I might just stay in restaurants, stick to my nutrition side of things and just see where it takes me. But then I decided to take it into my own hands. I created my own website that was doing kind of private meals. So it's like a private chef website I created myself. I put some Google ads out, and it kind of took off really well. I was going to houses and I was cooking for people, not so much nutrition based, but it gave me a chance to work with, a few high profile people, cooking for families, dinner parties, birthdays. And it kind of gave me the experience that I needed to have the backup and experience to work in private homes. Because being a private chef, it's not just about cooking, it's about how you go into people's houses, how you speak to them, working in their kitchens, cleaning up, tidying down, setting. There's so much more to it. So yeah, it was a very hard nut to crack. And there was a couple of years where I was thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to kind of get a break. But then luckily I've met some amazing people, some clients, and it all comes from references and experience. So yeah, but there's been a few times where I think, which way do I go? So yeah, it's a hard place to navigate, and I think there's a lot of chefs who can relate to that as well.
James, I couldn't help as you were saying that. I was starting to think about how crazy it is in my home around dinner time, and I was sitting here thinking, how would that look if James was in my kitchen cooking? He would probably be like, I'm out of here. So the last thing I want to ask, in you talk about, I know difficult things like that, but in order to keep going, and I love how you mentioned you have a lot you still want to accomplish. So for James, for you, like we talk a lot of people on the show, myself,
Yeah.
what about our why? Like what continues to drive you to put the hard work in? Like beyond just you, what's your why, your reasons for continuing to do it and continuing to push?
I personally think, I've come from a very humble background, single mum. I've kind of watched her, be by herself and struggle, bringing me up, and growing up in South London, there's not many opportunities and stuff like that around that way. I think, I've come from a humble background, and I just like helping chefs out. I enjoy helping people up their nutrition. So if I can kind of give, I really believe in, when you take a step up in a position or in life, you should, reach back down and take somebody else up with you. And I have done that, again and again and again. There's chefs that I've trained myself into nutrition, and they are working with superstars across the world. And I kind of do a lot of work with. I've got a WhatsApp group where I'm doing a little bit of training with chefs, and I don't charge them an absolute penny. It's just nice to see chefs that are kind of caught up in a rut, not earning loads of money, and giving them a bit of training to kind of let them do what I'm doing. So I think that is the main motivation, is kind of pulling chefs out from restaurants, helping them out, changing their lives, and getting a bit of funness from seeing them doing what they're doing as well. So yeah, it's nice, and I've made some great friends from on the way as well. So I think that's where the motivation will carry on going.
And James, as you were giving that answer, it was interesting because as I sit here and watch you give that answer, it was almost like I could literally see the wheels turning in your head, thinking
Yeah,
about
they
how
were.
no, but thinking about almost how you were in that position and how somebody
Yeah.
along the way probably helped you. So it's really, like I said, extremely authentic and nice to see. All right, so I like this is it last, but how do people get a hold of you? What's upcoming? I want to make sure people can find you or reach out if
Yeah.
need be.
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok as the high performance chef. I just kind of post day-to-day bits I'm doing. It's just a nice way to express what I'm doing. My main place where I'm kind of posting a lot is LinkedIn, and that's just Chef James. And then we have a website that's kind of in development at the moment. There's a lot of clouds storming around it still, so we're still trying to put that together. But that's going to be Project Performance. And yeah, and apart from that, that's all we have at the moment. But yeah, we're kind of a bit cloak and daggers where we work with a lot of high profile athletes and stuff. So we sign NDAs, so it's quite hard to, promote ourselves and work with people like that. But yeah, we're mostly on LinkedIn. So, but as soon as Project Performance is up and running, there'll be a direct contact to message us and email addresses and other ways that we can help people. So yeah.
Well, I will include as much as I can in the show notes to make sure people can easily get a hold of you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think the cloak and excuse me, but I think the cloak and dagger aspect of it makes this more intriguing. I like that part of it. So
of course,
it's kind of fun. So, well, James, thanks. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to continuing to watch you on LinkedIn and other areas and enjoy your journey, watching your journey. And I wish you nothing but success. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Charles.
As always, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you check out Chef James. And if you can, why don't you bring him over and have him cook for you? That would be wonderful. All right, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
This has been the Bare Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.